طيب، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا، وأنت تجعل الهم والحزن إذا شئت سهلا. جزاكم الله خيرا. I would like to start with Aqiidah. I would like to continue with where we stopped, inshallah ta'ala. طيب، إذن يا جماعة وصلنا إلى قال الذبح. الذبح was the last thing we discussed, and that the ذبح is from the types of worship من أنواع العبادة. الذبح من أنواع العبادة الذبح. And then we said, what was the definition of الذبح? So when we talk about الذبح, what are we actually saying? ثم قلنا, and we said, الذبح هو إزهاق الروح بإراقة الدم على وجه مخصوص. So we said this is إزهاق الروح. This is the to cause the soul to exit the body, meaning that the soul is departing, is separated from the body. How is that done? قال بإراقة الدم. So this is the second condition. The second condition is, that's the first condition, is that the first condition, or the first affair, is done by spilling blood, meaning you cannot perform a dhabh if you don't spill blood. And then he said, and this spilling of the blood على وجه مخصوص, it must happen upon a particular way. Now that way could be the item you use to cut the throat, the way you cut the throat, and so on. So these are the three conditions of al-dhabh to be considered officially al-dhabh. And the dhabh is slaughtering. So you cannot slaughter. So for example, the Western slaughterhouses, when they, when the animal comes on a belt, and there is and then before they cut him, before they cut the animal, they actually subject him to electricity shocks, so that it doesn't feel the pain, or so they claim. Now many of them, the scholars say, die because of that. So now that is not, even after that, if you slaughter that animal is not slaughtered in accordance to the Sharia, because it died of different, or it died due to other causes, and that makes it haram. And that is why we always question any animal which is otherwise halal, such as chicken, such as lamb, and so on, that is slaughtered in accordance, or in non-Islamic and non-Sharia abiding slaughterhouses. So that is a big problem in the UK and also in the Western countries, and that's why we have a stamp from the authorities, the Islamic authorities, who certify that this animal has been slaughtered in accordance to the Sharia, and that makes it halal, wallahi alhamd. And you need to understand that that any animal that has passed away or died in a way which is not confirmed the Sharia, then that animal becomes haram to consume. So this is a dhabh, and we said that the Messenger ﷺ said, لعن الله من ذبح لغير الله. The curse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be upon the one who slaughters for other than Allah. Okay, now what does slaughtering mean? That is the question that begs itself. وهذا هو السؤال الذي يطرح نفسه. And therefore we have a clarification regarding that point. And the Shaykh said, ينقسم الذبح إلى ثلاثة أقسام. Slaughtering can be divided into three different categories. قال, number one, ذبح لله, slaughtering for the sake of Allah. And then he said, such as كالهدي. This ka here means such as. Ka, such as. And in Arabic it's called ka tashbih. Tashbih, resembling. Okay, you resemble one thing with another. Okay, so قال كالهدي, and al-hadi is the animal that you slaughter in the time of Hajj. Wal-udhiya likewise. But al-hadi is a little bit broader than the udhiya. So al-hadi and al-udhiya is what you slaughter in or outside of the kingdom, the Saudi Arabia, in the time of Hajj. However, the hadi is exclusively the animal that you sacrifice when you go and do Hajj. Al-udhiya is something we also do, even though we did not go to Hajj. We do it in our homes. At least in Islamic countries, you do it in your homes. Then al-hadi, when you go to Hajj, you slaughter for the sake of Allah. Dhabhun lillah. And number two, قال والأضحية, and the sacrifice or sacrificing an animal in Eid al-Adha. In Eid al-Adha. Number three, or the third example, is as-sadaqat. You slaughter an animal to give away the meat as sadaqah. Okay, so all of these affairs are for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, does that mean we're not eating from al-udhiya and al-hadi? Of course we eat from it. And likewise the sadaqat and so on. A sadaqat, obviously you give it away for the sake of Allah. طيب, does that mean it's not for the sake of, you're not slaughtering for Allah? No, you do. It is for the sake of Allah. Even though you benefit from it. You yourself benefit from it. And then number two, he said, ذَبْحٌ لِغَيْرِ اللَّهِ, slaughtering for other than Allah. And that is what Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the hadith said, لَعَنَ اللَّهُ مَنْ ذَبَحَ لِغَيْرِ اللَّهِ. Okay, that was the hadith. لَعَنَ اللَّهُ مَنْ ذَبَحَ لِغَيْرِ اللَّهِ. Curse of Allah be upon the one who slaughters for other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, there is a condition involved. And he said, this slaughtering for other than Allah must be upon those two things. Mahabba, love for the one that you're sacrificing for, and ta'zeem, and exaltation for the one that you are slaughtering for. So if you are slaughtering for such as the jinn, a lot of people unfortunately do that. And they still do that actually. Okay, why? Because they fear the harm of the jinn, the harm of the shayateen. So what do? They start worshipping, they start slaughtering for them, which is a worship, which is a type of worship. And na'am, so they slaughter for the jinn. قال وأصحاب القبور, and likewise sometimes they slaughter for the inhabitants of the graves. The people, the grave worshippers, they go to the graves and they slaughter at the grave. وهذا شرك أكبر, and this is major shirk. Okay, again, when these people go to and slaughter for the jinn or for the graves, then they do that because they love them. It's due to love and that they hold them to be something great, something of a certain status and excellence. And that is shirkun akbar. The third type is dhabhun mubah. And the word mubah says it all. It is permissible slaughtering. So it's not specific. There is no, you don't do it for due to a specific worship, such as al-hadi or al-udhiyah or al-sadaqa. No, you just do it randomly without any intention of any ibadah, of any ibadah. قال كشاة اللحم, such as the lamb that you slaughter just purely for its meat. So you just want to eat meat, so you slaughter a lamb. أو وإكرام الضيف, or you have a guest and you slaughter an animal for your guest so that he or she or they can eat from it. وَالتِّجَارَةِ, and likewise you slaughter to sell it, to sell part of it, so for business. So all of that is permissible. All of these are permissible. All right? طيب يا جماعة. So how many types of slaughtering do we have? We have 3 types of slaughtering. One is ibadah, pure prescribed worship. The second one is shirkun akbar, and that is slaughtering for other than Allah, while you have love and ta'zeem for that entity you slaughtering for. And number 3, it is the permissible slaughtering, and that is for something like, for the sake of eating meat, or honoring and welcoming a guest, or for business. Okay, any questions about that? Okay. Then the Sheikh said ملحوظة, note. He said ملحوظة, note. هناك مزيد تفصيل في مسألة الذبح تأتي في كتاب التوحيد بإذن الله. He said there is much more to say about this affair of slaughtering. Okay, and that will be discussed in the book, which is after Usul al-Thalatha. Normally, Usul al-Thalatha, Kitab al-Usul al-Thalatha, the one that we're reading in, is the basic of the basics. And then after that, you go to the next one, which is Kitab al-Tawheed, and that is the one that you then discuss. Okay, so he says in the Kitab al-Tawheed, we will be discussing further. طيب, I will leave Aqidah to that, inshallah ta'ala, and I would like to jump straight away to Fiqh. And the Fiqh, we reached, we discussed, before this, we discussed the Arkan as-Salah. Na'am, Arkan as-Salah. After we discussed the conditions and the shurut. How many shurut does it have? It has 9 conditions. That's what the Salah has, 9 conditions. Okay, and that was the end of the conditions so far. Now we starting, inshallah ta'ala, to discuss the second important affair in the Salah, which is the pillars of the Salah. Arkan as-Salah. Arkan as-Salah. Now before, no, let's just continue, inshallah. And Arkan as-Salah, the pillars of the Salah, the agreed upon pillars of the Salah are 14. So remember that. 14. 14. طيب, so what are they? These arkan, these pillars, are so important that if you miss one pillar, then that rak'ah, not the Salah, but that rak'ah will be invalid. That rak'ah will be invalid. All right? So you're going to throw that rak'ah away. طيب, he said 14 is 14. Number 1, قال القيام مع القدرة. Number 1 is القيام مع القدرة, standing upright while if you are able to, and with the ability. So you're standing upright when you're praying with the ability. Now, that ability is, you are the best judge of the ability. Some people, as soon as they have a little bit of a stomach ache or leg ache, whatever, they sit down in a chair. Now, that's between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, while you have to strive to fulfill this pillar, which is standing in, even though sometimes you have to bear some pain. So, very important, al-qiyamu ma'al qudra, standing upright while you have the ability to do so. And then he said number 2 is takbiratul ihram. Now we've seen, or we will see in that to come, inshallah, that there are many, many more takbirat. And takbir is the saying of Allahu Akbar. But this one is a very specific one, and that is takbiratul ihram. Now the word ihram, what comes from the word ihram is related to the word haram. Haram means forbidden. So why is this takbirah called takbiratul ihram? Simply because it makes a lot of things which are halal haram. Speaking is halal, eating is halal, eating that which is halal is halal, drinking that which is halal, laughing, moving, walking, and so on. Now, however, as soon as you say Allahu Akbar for takbiratul ihram, it makes all of these affairs haram. All right, so that's the very first takbirah, the very first Allahu Akbar, and that is indeed haram. Number 3, he says qira'atul Fatiha, and we passed this and we said that Al-Fatiha, when we discussed the meaning of Al-Fatiha, the tafsir of Al-Fatiha, we said it's the only surah which you must read. If you read the whole Quran and in your Salah and you don't read Al-Fatiha, then your Salah is still invalid. Okay, that's how important Surah Al-Fatiha is. And Qira'atul Fatiha, the reading of Al-Fatiha, begs a homework question. And that homework question, ya Jama'ah, is mention the different opinions of the scholars in relation to the reading of Surah Al-Fatiha. So let me ask you a question. For example, you go to the masjid and the Imam is praying Salatul Isha. In the first 2 rak'ahs, the Imam prays out loud. Are you meant to read Al-Fatiha as well while he's reading his? Do you have to wait until he finishes? But then what about when he starts reading another surah after the Al-Fatiha and you start reading Al-Fatiha for yourself? What about the commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that if the Quran is recited upon you, then you need to listen and be quiet? Okay, so all of these affairs needs to be discussed. Obviously, I mean, it is voluntary work. If you want to increase in understanding these affairs, ahlan wa sahlan. Qira'atul Fatiha is number 3, reading and reciting the Fatiha. Okay. قال والركوع, and bowing. Bowing is number 4. والرفع منه, and erecting yourself from it, number 5. والسجود, and then sujood على الأعضاء السبعة, on 7 limbs, and those 7 limbs is a must, otherwise it's not considered to be sujood. And that is your face, that's your forehead and your nose, then your 2 hands, then your 2 knees, then your 2 toes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And your face is considered, the forehead and the nose is considered to be 1. Okay? It's considered to be 1. So Muhammad said in the hadith, we've been commanded to make sujood on 7 limbs. Okay, on 7 limbs. طيب على الأعضاء السبعة قال نعم number 7 قال الاعتدال منه, erecting yourself from it. And then يعني meaning when you do sujood you sit, you come back and sit, so Allahu Akbar, and you sit. That is also called considered to be a pillar, and that shows you the great error that some people do, especially unfortunately the Asian brothers and sisters, when they pray, when they do sujood and they erect themselves from it, they say Allahu Akbar, they even don't sit upright. Immediately halfway, boom, they go back again. And that shows that they are actually missing a pillar. Okay, they are missing a pillar. Allah musta'an. Very unfortunate. And then number 8 قال والجلسة بين السجدتين. Number 8, that is sitting between the 2 sajdas, between the 2 sujoods. Sitting between the 2 sujoods is considered to be a pillar. A pillar. Okay, so you need to sit down, relax. And sitting down, the ulama they say, and sitting down means that every bone goes back to its resting position. That is considered to be sitting. Not halfway while you are, between the 2 sujoods, halfway you come back. No, you need to erect yourself from it and sit between them and then do the other sujood. Well, and then number 9, ya jama'a, very, very important, and that is الطمأنينة في جميع الأركان. الطمأنينة means being tranquil, being at ease, not rushing, concentrating. الطمأنينة, it's not as if there is, fire burning in the kitchen and you have to quickly pray, or you have to catch a plane or something like that. No. الطمأنينة يا جماعة is that you are calm, tranquil, and at ease when you're performing جميع الأركان, all of the pillars. قال والترتيب. Number 10, والترتيب. Tartib means order. So you when you start praying, you don't start with the ruku', then you stand up, then you read al-Fatiha, then you no. There is a particular way the Messenger ﷺ taught us to pray, and that is الترتيب. Now, قال والتشهد الأخير. That's number 11. That's the last tashahhud. We know that the Salah has 2 tashahhuds. That you sit down for it. Okay, the first one, the second one. Now, the first one, if the Salah has 2, the first one is not a pillar. What does that mean? It means you prayed 1 rak'ah. You did sujood. Then you stood up for the second rak'ah. Then you did ruku', sujood. You meant now to sit down for tashahhud. You forgot. You stood up. Instead, you stood up. Then you continue. You just continue, because that tashahhud, that at-tahiyyat, the first tahiyyat, is not a pillar. Is not a pillar. Yes, you have to repair your salah because there's something missing by way of the 2 sujoods, sujood sahu, and we will learn inshallah how that works. Because sometimes you have to do the sujood before you exit the salah with the taslim, and sometimes you have to do that before, you have to do that after that. So what happened, when did Muhammad ﷺ do that, and so on. In any case, the sujood, the tashahhud al-awwal is wajib, but not rukn. However, the last one, okay, so that's why the Sheikh says here at-tashahhud al-11 is at-tashahhud al-akhir. The last tashahhud is the one which is rukn, not the first one. And then he said, number 12 is al-julusu lahu, sitting for it, sitting for that last tashahhud, meaning you don't do your tashahhud while standing or while, I don't know, sitting in a funny way or something like that. You don't do that. All right. Then we're going to number 13, and that is as-salatu ala al-nabiyyi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, meaning Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala Ibrahim, and so on. So as-salatu ala al-nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is rukn. It is rukn, ya jama'ah, very important. Okay, number 14 is at-taslimatan, the two taslimas, the two taslimas. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Okay, and that brings us to our second homework question, which is which or how many opinions are there in regards to at-taslimatayn? Okay, and then if I give you a hint, the two taslimas, the right and the left, are they equal? Are they equal? Meaning, equal means, are they both rukn? Can I leave one out? What happens if I leave one out? Which one should I leave out? Or can I leave out? And so on. So yeah, obviously, the Shaykh is now starting explaining as usual. Okay, the Shaykh will start now explaining rukn by rukn, and will give us all the evidences that we need, inshallah ta'ala, for each and every rukn. However, we stop here today, inshallah ta'ala. Barakallahu feekum. I would like you to memorize 14 arkan. Okay, arkan. Okay, the 14 pillars of the salah. The 14 pillars of the salah. Obviously, the shurut, you should have memorized that. Barakallahu feekum. I will leave you to that. Jazakum Allah khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.